Hello and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Kieran.
Me, Mikey.
And in this episode, we've got ourselves a special guest, Mr. Ryan Dykes. We will refer to him as Dykes in the episode because that's his nickname, and calling him Ryan just feels weird. Yeah, this episode, this is the first time me and Mikey have actually been in the same space at the same time. Normally we have to do everything over over the interwebs. But this time we're actually in the same room, which is a weird feeling. So we can actually finally play off one another and not interrupt each other.
In one bed.
Yeah, using the bedroom for the best acoustics. But yeah, so this episode we'll be talking about the new release of Top Gun Maverick.
Summer blockbuster.
Literally like an amazing summer blockbuster. I mean, not to just throw the boat out there straight away, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I thought it was incredible. Just the stunt itself. That was the reason that drew me in the first place, to be honest, was the stunt.
I found it just every minute you were just watching it and you was captivated by what was going on. And like it did have a lot of emotional points as well, but it just felt like a proper, like, I don't know, the Yanks call it popcorn films. And you just sit there and you glued to it in like a proper summer blockbuster. But it was feel good as well. And it was high octane, and like there was fucking always something going on, and like the pacing was good. It didn't really feel like there was a lull.
No, the pacing was really good. Like there's not one moment where I was like, oh, I got to shuffle or something, change ass cheeks or whatever. There wasn't that at all. It was just, you were just enjoying it. There was no other thoughts at all. You were just in that film watching it. You forgot the outside world existed.
Yeah, like sometimes in other films, I feel so you're like, oh, it's been a while. I literally could not have told you how long that film was.
No,
like it just,
yeah, exactly.
Time could have been fucking 4 hours for all I know. And I was just like, oh, this film's fucking sick, and then it ended, and I was like,
oh, it's over.
I have no idea what time it is, but like even because I'm a massive Marvel fan, and even when I go watch them, sometimes I'm like, oh, getting to the end now, or you could feel there's either a big build up to the end, or you're like, fuck, I've been here for ages, like I've been here for like 7 days. Yeah, so it's just dragging on, and this film didn't feel like that at all.
No, I actually wanted more. I wanted more fight scenes.
Possibly tell that it was like towards the end because of like how much you enjoyed it and like the pacing was because this isn't like really spoilers at all. But there's the main mission they're preparing for.
It's completed.
And then, they do the mission, or it's the bit where they're doing the mission. So it's towards the end. But apart from that, like, it's...
Yeah, it's just the way, like, the story arc's coming to a conclusion, so you just know you're near the end. That's literally the only other giveaway. And to be fair, it actually ended later than I felt it was going to end, in a way, because when they did the final mission, I felt it was going to end then, sort of thing. But then when the whole shot down and sort of having to run back and steal the enemy's jet, that like added more on for me, because I was like, oh, we're not going to have a conclusion roundup in the next sort of 10 minutes, we're going to at least get another 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something, is what I felt when I saw that happen.
It is what I expected, in the sense that, so going into it, a lot of the marketing and a lot of like the articles done on it was that all of the stuff done was real, like it wasn't CGI, and that's one of the things like Christopher McQuarrie and like Tom Cruise is known for, is like they do all their own stuff. They want to do practical big effects, stunt jumps or whatever. And so going into it, like you appreciate that, but you also think there's not going to be a lot of flashy stuff. And I was wrong. Like there's some mad stuff. It's hard to articulate over audio platform, I suppose, but like where they scoop over, similar to the first film, but he flies over them and he's just hovering there.
Fly over the mountain and then...
No, he's just...
he flies upside down.
Yeah, he flies upside down there underneath, and he's just doing it. And he's just saying hello to him. And he like... See, in the first film, they do it, and he just flips there and then. But in this, he comes through the shot, and obviously that can be done for editing, but then you see him physically do it like round a circle almost.
Yeah.
And that's just it's badass as fuck. Like,
and all the you seen the actors were actually flying the planes themselves. Like Tom Cruise was.
Well, not all of them. I think I don't know if Tom was flying his jet for all of his shots, but I know he. I don't know if he flew the jet. I know he flew the plane at the end.
That's mad.
Where he was flying with Jennifer
the old
Connelly.
school,
Yeah, I know he flew that.
Jet.
I'm not sure if he flew the actual. I don't know the names of them, but I know they're not the F-18s, but you know the actual jet. I'm not 100% sure if he flew those, but I know they were all in them. So they were like in the passenger seat.
Oh, rather than doing the old green screen, like.
Yeah, so they're actually in there, like flying around and stuff. So they're properly pulling the G's and everything because they had to. Saw something about where they said they were in like a 3-month intense Navy SEAL training boot camp sort of thing that they had to go through for 3 months. Like absolute vigorous training, and like you got to commend them for the conviction for the role, like what they had to go through in order to, you know, at the end of the day, it's just a job. They're just doing some acting, right? But to put your paces through all of that to then, you know, create the film that they did and give us the spectacle that they did, you gotta commend them for it because it was fucking stunning.
There's like, not like they need a shout out, but like I was reading Empire magazine and they had like an article about it, and like to go from what you've just said, all the principal cast, they were in the cockpit, passenger cockpits, and it was like they'd go up for like half hour, an hour at a time to film those bits.
Yeah.
And it was like edited and like, you know, the power of storytelling to make it look like they were flying.
Yeah.
But all of them, like, as you say, they were pulling the G's, they were in it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it's crazy to see on G's. As the story goes, it's
not too bad.
It's not like it doesn't, despite us like bigging up like the stunts and like the actual like dogfights itself, it doesn't lean on that too much. The story is good, and like it leans on a lot. This isn't really spoilers because it's in the trailer. Goose's son in it, and like we'd like discuss it more in like when we like quote unquote flag spoilers. But it leans a lot on Mavericks and Goose's son, who's like called Rooster in this, or Bradley. That's what's annoying. Bradley Bradshaw. Remind me of JBL. From wrestling.
John Bradshaw.
Yeah, Bradley Bradshaw. But you know, it hangs a lot on their relationship. The film's emotional crux does. But whether that's the heart of the film, which is both a good thing and a bad thing.
I think it's
my opinion.
Good. From my opinion, I think it's a good thing because it's not overly convoluted. It's not an unnecessary technical plot. It's a very simple plot.
Yeah,
you know,
it was done really well as well. Like I could feel the emotion and stuff and the connection they were trying to put out.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, I hadn't seen the first film. Like I'd never seen a Top Gun film. I don't even think I'd seen the fucking trailers for this. And I was just like, you know, fucking.
Yeah. I mean, there's times I full on felt emotion. Like, you know, I'd like, you know, a bit of water or something coming in the eye because I proper felt that sort of emotion. Yeah. And I haven't seen the original Top Gun for 15 years, I think it is. But I watched a roundup just before I went. I watched a YouTube roundup just before I went in, just to remind myself. I mean, I should really have watched it, but I was like, I don't want to like watch it and then overhype myself for. Yeah. So
I watched the first one this week, like, and I watched it a few times, and I think the first one's quite cheesy, and it gets ripped into for being a homoerotic film between like Iceman and Maverick, and like the bromance and like the PTSD and stuff like that. But it's like it hits all like similar notes in this one, and it's still a feel good film, like. And that, as you said, the relationship between Miles Teller and Tom Cruise, I think, is done well, like.
Yeah.
And it's
good acting on both.
It's good acting on both parts, especially. But there's some other performances in it, like realistically, we should have done. I think Kieran knows is the arrival for Rooster. Hangman is a good actor in it.
Glenn
Powell. Phoenix, the lady who plays Phoenix, is absolutely great.
Yeah.
She's good. She's a good laugh. I'm not even 5% sure. This is very amateur of me, but I'm 95% sure there's a guy called Bob in it, who is the Slurpy guy
Yeah,
from
Bob.
Stranger Things. I'm pretty sure he's in it. Like, that's the same actor. So there's undeniably, and this wouldn't surprise anybody who's watched trailer or knows Top Gun, that is a Tom Cruise film. But there is like some like good like performances from a lot of people,
Yeah.
especially John Hamm. John Hamm plays a good like. I wouldn't go quite as far to play as like the villain. It was definitely like the antagonist,
Yeah.
as far as you could say, for Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in Maverick's bullshit, and he wants him out. But because Iceman's the admiral, he's able to bring Maverick back in to teach. Maverick's decorated to become an admiral, but he's kept as a captain, and he kind of just resents him a bit for that, because he was top of the class, but everyone knows who Maverick is. Nobody knows who Cyclone is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a sort of ego trip sort of thing there. I mean, what I didn't like to begin with, it was a bit, especially when Maverick first arrives in New Island, is it? No, North Island.
That's
North
it.
Island. But the bit when they all rock up at Jennifer Connelly's bar, right? The testosterone there is ridiculous. Like, it was just like an absolute testosterone farce. It just felt too sort of like in your face, like American sort of like
Everybody dick swinging.
everyone, just
Everyone.
dick swinging.
I
Everyone.
know exactly what you mean, but I don't like.
I mean, it calmed down like literally straight after that scene, but that whole scene, I was like, just chill out.
To
Like,
be fair, we aren't Americans, and
Yeah.
also I feel like it's pretty close to the truth. Like when you see some of that stuff, that
yeah, it just felt very sort of like
Passive-aggressive.
90s sort of.
all right, like.
Yeah, like it just. But
Speaking of Jennifer Connelly, though, she's quite charming. Like her like banter, if you will, is good with Tom Cruise. It doesn't seem like too forced between those two.
no, it doesn't. It actually feels very genuine.
Like her character's name dropped in the first one, and she's like name dropped a couple of times. I've been like banging her before Top Gun in
You
the like
making
Top
love.
Gun canon, like
Making love, not
making
banging.
love. Yeah, sorry, like well, like she says,
Family friendly.
you banged Penny Benjamin, Admiral's daughter, and then you see Penny Benjamin is Jennifer Connelly.
Mm.
So it's very hinted towards that, like they have an off and on relationship, and like obviously you haven't seen that before, but like it's established one and it seems quite authentic. To make more of a thing of it, because Kieran came down and started the weekend as well, but like, and to the type of film it is, and like it's very stunt, like heavy focused film, and like special effects, not so much special effects, it's practical effects per se, but also like because it's such a big film, we only saw it in IMAX. We'd recommend seeing it in IMAX as well.
100% for the
Is it-
stunts alone. For the stunts
and
alone.
like the sound. To be fair, another
Sound
match
design.
before we get into spoilers, the soundtrack I absolutely loved, and like on the train journey back, I was singing "Hold My Hand" in an incredibly annoying voice.
Yeah.
About half hour, and yes, some like really random classic British rock has spoilers. Danger Zone
Yeah.
has the original score. I don't think it doesn't have Take My Breath Away, but it does have the original score quite a lot, and it has some random current pop music which is quite catchy when they're on the beach playing American football.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soundtrack's boss and the score that like adds to it quite a lot.
Yeah, so like the IMAX experience, I think was 100% worth it. To the point that when I see it again, I will try and see it in IMAX if I can. Because I just think it's the price of your ticket, but I do think it's worth it for that particular film. I think it's 100% worth it because when am I going to get to see that film in IMAX again? You know what I mean? Spoilers.
Spoilers. So it leads up to the whole film is Tom Cruise's relationship of protecting Miles Teller, protecting Rooster, who's his dead best friend's son,
Yeah.
and
His adopted son in a way.
his adopted son in a way, and like you think, why does like Miles Teller resent him? Then you find out that to protect him on his mom's dying wish, he pulled him out. That he tried to stop him from entering the Air Force because he pulled his papers. Miles Teller found out. That's why he's so pissed off and tampering with him. So the film goes on, like this impossible mission is happening.
Dun,
And you're like,
dun, 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 dun,
So
dun.
does he want to put Miles Teller into it, even though like Miles Teller might be the best pilot for the job, but should he put him in for it because he's biased? He doesn't want Miles Teller to die. Spoilers, he puts him in for it, and then Miles Teller's up at one point up shit creeks without a paddle as he runs out of flares, doesn't he?
Yeah, he runs
So
out
the
of flares.
bandits, the bad guys are gonna get him, and then Tom Cruise literally sacrifices himself
To save Rooster.
to save Rooster.
With a sick manoeuvre on my
It
mouse.
was boss. He does a Randy Orton per se, who comes out of nowhere and just takes the like missiles, the brute force the missiles.
Yes.
So like for me then, like if the film would have ended
On a cliffhanger.
on that like it just would have ended
Tom
like
dying.
with Tom dying, I would not have been disappointed. I thought like
No.
because he leaded up to that. Wow, like you would have like even though would not have been silly, would not have been bad narrative wise. So I thought, yeah,
No.
that's cool.
But like Dykes said as we came out of the cinema, you know, it's difficult not to do films these days that aren't cliche because almost everything's kind of been done. You know, you can do little twists and stuff on things. And in a way of killing off Maverick, it felt like a cliche way to sort of end things, you know, when sort of like Indiana Jones, they bring Indiana Jones back when he's like 70 years old and then they kill off Indiana Jones, or Han Solo, they kill him off. It's like, of course they're going to do that sort of thing. But then the fact that it then cut back to him being alive, right, in enemy territory, then he's getting chased down by like, I don't know if it's called
An Apache. Yeah.
I'd say an Apache, but it's Russian, so I don't know what the Russian
It's
version
a big
is.
fucking
Apache.
helicopter.
But he's shutting him down. The way the camera angle and everything was set up when the helicopter came round the tree, you just knew rockets were flying into the side of it. You could just tell the camera
Because the
angle,
way the shot was
the
there.
way it was set up, and you knew Rooster. He was playing on his mind to come back and save him, right? And he saw that coming. But what I actually didn't see coming was then Rooster then full on getting shot down. It wasn't until like a couple of seconds after Rooster's rockets went into this chopper, I realised, he's got no flares and shit, has he? He's probably going to go down himself. And then he went down, right? And then obviously Maverick ran after Rooster to like pick him up after the parachute drop, right? And he's like, "What are you doing? I was saving you." Yeah, well, I was saving you. And I like that.
Yeah,
It changed that trope completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bit was especially good as you two said, and as we
Like
said,
the
it's
acting, yeah.
they're like, it's very emotional, and then all of a sudden it's quite banterish and like bromance and like loving, all in the space of like 15 seconds.
And it's not forced.
And it feels quite organic.
Yeah,
like,
got a lot of chuckles as well. The old back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in that moment, yeah,
Yeah.
like the whole cinema was a little bit chuckly, weren't they?
yeah, it was that bit is probably my favourite bit. Like,
It really humanises it because I mean, we don't know what it's like to be flying a jet, but in that moment, we know what those feelings are like. We've been in situations like that with our parents or whatever, you know.
yeah,
So it felt very relatable, and like we've said, you know, the whole cliche thing that then completely changed to cliche again. You know, he kind of just sort of muted the cliche and took it in a different direction. And I liked. So when I mentioned earlier about how I thought the film was going to end sort of with Maverick dying and there'll be like another funeral or something, and that'd be credits or something, and Goose is like, I'm going to live up to Maverick's whatever. That's not Goose, Rooster. I'm going to live up to Maverick's sort of way of flying or whatever. You know, that's some cliche sort of bullshit ending, and that's where I kind of thought it was going to go. But then with the Rooster's rockets coming in, taking out the chopper, him then going down themselves, and then them both having to run through enemy territory, right? While also in a little, you know, back and forth running through enemy territory, like, oh, better run now, sort of thing, you know, stealing an enemy jet, flying off, and then shooting down some planes. You know, it completely, it made the film far better than it was going to be if it had ended.
yeah.
You know, and I've got to give its due to Christopher McQuarrie because I do feel like everything I've seen Christopher McQuarrie do has been fucking brilliant. Like, he's script writing, I mean, he didn't direct this. I think he produced and co-wrote
Yeah.
the screenplay, and he always knocks it out of the park. I mean, obviously nothing's going to be 100% perfect, but his work I always thoroughly enjoy. And I think I've got to hand it to him and his co-writers for the way they've changed that ending from what it could have been if it was done by anyone else. Because I guarantee anyone else would have killed Maverick off and just left it at that.
To back that point up, I think what was cool as well is they could have very easily turned that bit from when they're running from the woods to the last plane, the last old relic plane, to try and nick that. And I'm glad they never done this. They could have done it a couple of ways. They could have made them into all of a sudden they're John Wick, and they're shooting people down with Desert Eagles, and they're Rambo-ing it, and fucking the absolute boss. Because if they'd done that, at the end of the day, they're trained fighter pilots, they're not fucking the SAS or the Green Berets. So that would have been mental if they started doing that. And the other one, they could have turned it into a buddy cop action movie, where if they turned around and went, oh, that got a good few chuckles, that was quite emotional. And if they could have took that the wrong way and really lent in those to those two battering people together and being really funny or something.
Yeah.
But the fact that
they kept it sensible.
They kept it sensible, but also emotional at the points it needed to be. Something we should have mentioned in non-spoilers. Tell what I thought was really good is how they included Iceman. How they included Val Kilmer, I thought was really emotional.
Well, I guess that is spoilers technically.
Yeah,
because you don't expect to see him.
I knew because I read an article on it beforehand that Tom Cruise made a big thing saying that he wanted Val Kilmer in it, and due to him having throat cancer, I heard that he'd have a voice line in it, and I thought he was just going to be on the phone to him because you see him throughout the film, text him, don't you?
Yeah.
So I thought he says, "Oh, I need to sit and talk to you," and I thought he was just going to give him a bow, and it was just going to be some free lines. And what was done more emotional than that is he has him. Val Kilmer's physically in it, and spoilers, they say he's rough, don't they?
Yeah.
And he dies.
They sort of write his.
They write his illness into the
script.
Which is done quite tastefully.
Tastefully, maturely. Yeah.
Yeah. So he sees him then, and he says we need to talk, and throughout most of it, it's I tell you what, I don't know, this sounds really insensitive to Stephen Hawking. I'm so glad he didn't have a robot voice or whatever.
Yeah.
And that could have went...
Which, when he first started, because he starts communicating with him by typing words on the computer screen, and I generally thought for, the first, as soon as he started doing it, I thought it was, a text-to-speech sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't Stephen Hawking him.
Yeah.
Don't make him type in and then have him doing the old speaking spell. It'll just be a bit a bit weird. But I mean, they just done it where they showed the text on the screen, which was, I think, better than some sort of robot voice.
120%. Yeah, it was a lot more tasteful. It was a lot more you felt the impact more because the conversation they was having was in saying the crux of the film, how he should deal with putting Rooster in the cockpit, in the sense that he should go forward for the mission. And if they'd done that, it would just took it, as Dykes has said, and as you said, it would have took you out of the film bit. It would have been what the fuck's this something. So that's done really well, and he does
he does speak.
He does speak, and it's quite important. It's quite
so it's AI generated voice.
That's it. Yeah, it's
not AI generated in the film. In the film, it's meant to seem like it's his legit voice, but in cinema world, it's been AI generated from his previous films,
previous roles and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was for me again. It was really smooth.
It didn't sound janky.
No, I just sort of joked about it before the film, because we sort of knew that they'd cut voice lines and or whatever from his other film, and I was joking about it coming out like Chef from South Park.
Yeah,
it was just really you could tell that it was strange, but the film was almost seamless. Really,
it's seamless to the point that if you didn't know Val Kilmer's condition, you would have no idea whatsoever. Zero clue. Yeah,
I wouldn't it was only because obviously we mentioned it before.
Yeah,
this film. We was talking about it and the fact that obviously he's in it, but his his voice is fucked and whatever. But like, if I didn't know that information going in, I would like, you would have mentioned it now, and I would be like, what? Wait, he doesn't have a voice. Like,
Yeah.
no idea.
So that's probably the bit which I found
Well, it was the
most
embrace.
emotional.
It was the
And the
embrace
embrace
between...
when like they have like a bit of a hug, and that's when he speaks to him.
Yeah.
He, like physically speaks to him. So that's done really well, and it's not like
You can tell the hug isn't just like, Iceman and Maverick. The hug is Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise. You can feel that hug.
it's not overused as well. I felt like if they'd had like another 3-4 scenes with him or whatever, they would have landed on like the audience knowing that that's emotional and like type of thing. But no, that one scene they do have together is really good.
It's pivotal.
Yeah, it's pivotal. Yeah,
But it's not
good.
like overdone.
Yeah, and again, I found it like quite an impactful scene. Again, sort of like seeing how like what they were supposed to be portraying. Again, obviously from not watching the first one,
Yeah.
and just seeing the brief, like, oh, there's a photo of him up, so like in the like the academy at the beginning. And obviously like the text back and forth, but like they just do a good job of setting it up, I find. So you can sort of feel the emotion in it without me knowing any prior history to it.
To be fair, the way it's written in a sense is in a way that you don't have to see the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there are like certain tropes and certain things that would help, but it is not necessary.
Yeah, and they didn't overdo like the old flash. Like they had like 1 or 2 flashbacks, I think, for like important things.
Goosey's death is one.
Yeah, and when they were singing on the piano, which is like a scene, because there was I can't remember what song they were singing.
Goodness gracious, great ball.
Yeah, which obviously they done in the flashback that they sung in the first film, which to me I was like, oh, okay, that makes it, because obviously if they hadn't shown the flashback from the first one, I would have been like, why is Tom Cruise kind of standing outside sulking to the song? Like, but, I mean, because they done they used flashbacks sparingly without making it be like for people who have seen the film going, oh, we don't need like highlight show of the first film.
It's only like half the film is actually new footage rather than the other half is all
like they used it. But they used it. I think they used it like in good placement to where they needed to show the audience. So like myself, hadn't seen the first one.
Yeah, too. I can't agree more in that sense because when that first flashback is done, that's when you first see Miles' talent character, like Goose's son. And it's a good way of introducing him for him to say, like, this is Rooster, this is Goose's son. And he's, to be fair, he's actually singing in it pretty much the same way Goose does. And he does look like Goose as well.
I mean, take away the tash, right? It's not necessary to be like this Goose's son. Miles Teller actually looks like, I don't know, Goose's actor.
Anthony something.
But they actually do look very similar. He looks like the love child of Meg Ryan and Goose.
Yeah.
They do. There is a look there that you're like, shit, that's the same guy.
I think like a little thing I liked about it, and whether it was like Jennifer Colley's like character, or like a lot of the time, obviously Maverick himself, Tom Cruise, and not so much like the like Air Force uniforms, but the costume I felt was like it was really on point. Like, and Tom Cruise's outfits were just like classic white t-shirt, and it was like the aviator jacket, the aviator sunglasses. That like felt like it hit the theme really well. And he was like he had the Kawasaki motorbike from the first one as well.
Yes, yeah.
And just stuff like that. That was done. It was done well. Like it was like the theme was cool. It carried on well with that.
The bit at the beginning, I enjoyed that as well, as much as the rest of the film when they need to fly to Mach 9 and then Mach 10, and then because the bit where they fly, I want to call it the stealth bomber because it literally looks like the stealth bomber.
Those blackbirds, like, because it's a real life plane, obviously.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they don't go into space, but they go. They're
in like the stratosphere or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
I think that's, as you say, I think that's what that like is, because he goes so high.
Yeah, he's able to hit the max.
Yeah.
But the bit I'm about is as soon as he launches off and flies over Ed Harris's character, right? They destroy the set, right? That's not actually meant to happen, right?
Oh, wow.
So the jet was just meant to fly over ahead, right? But they destroyed the set. But fortunately, everyone like carried on acting, right? I mean, That's the best thing you want really, is if there's ever a situation where it just goes to shit, you want everyone to just keep acting, just to let the camera roll out for like the cut, just so you can at least use that tape.
Yeah, fair play to, was it Ed Harris?
I don't know if it
Fair
was
play.
Ed Harris that did it though, because I mean Ed Harris is, I don't know how old he is, and to have that jet flying over his head like fucking sonic sound, he burst his eardrum.
Well, I was
So-
gonna say, especially if it was legit, because obviously it pretty much took the roof off like the little building
Yeah.
next to it.
Yeah,
And I was
the
thinking like
house.
the guy, like, because I remember like when I saw that happen, I was like, oh shit, like I didn't know it wasn't part of the film,
Yeah.
but also I was like really impressed of like how he did manage to fall over,
Yeah.
like especially if he's not expecting it as well.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember watching, because I was a little bit confused at the first part, and I was like, wait, how is he almost taking the, I was expecting him to sort of move, but he just
It
stood like
there.
a rock, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was expecting him to like stumble or fall over. Obviously, I mean, that wouldn't portray his character
No,
greatly.
because it's meant to be stern.
Yeah, but like, especially, you know, and then obviously now knowing that wasn't actually meant to happen at all, like to just stand
So
there and
it's
shrug
just,
it
it was
off.
just literally meant to fly over them, but the fact that it like ripped the roof off and everything, I love those little things that they're never planned,
Yeah.
and they just happen, and it just makes it better. Because there's a bit where I think it's Glenn Powell's character, and he says that one of his straps on his harness wasn't tight enough, right? And as they were flying around or something, he lifted out a seat, smacked his head off the canopy, and that's not like a massive thing to see or anything, but they actually kept that scene in the film as well.
Yeah, it
Just
was
because
really
it's
quick
like
as well.
they just add
Yeah.
stuff, don't they?
Just more to make it more
More
authentic.
real.
Like, yeah, more
Yeah.
real, like, yeah, more of an experience. I think one of the things I liked about it a lot, and like, is at the end of the day, like this one more so than the original, is Tom. He is undeniably a movie star, and in this
Yeah.
one, what they try to do really, I think they do really well, is make him a likable character, and by that I mean like his traits of being Maverick, like he is, doesn't play by the rules, is in this so more than the first one, to make him like, the reason he doesn't obey by the rules is for a good reason.
Yeah.
For like a moral high reason, or he's trying to like
his
save
squad.
people, or to save his squad, or save the pilots he's trained, or like the other big one to save like Rooster. But like the other one is right at the beginning with it from the get go, as Kim said, is like his day job before he says you got to go back to Top Gun as an instructor. He's like a test pilot for the stealth bomber, the Modern Warfare 2 pilot type of thing, and he's flying that, and he says, "Oh, it's been shut down. The project's been shut down." His friend tells him, "So what do you mean it's been shut down?" He says, "Yeah, you're gonna have to find new jobs or whatever. Got to do this."
So Ed Harris is on his way.
Ed Harris is on the way to shut it down, and he says, "So Ed Harris isn't here yet." He says, "What are you on, mate?" He says, "We're all going to get shut down."
And it's all going to go to drones.
He says, "You know what's going to happen to you, though, if you do this?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "But I also know what's going to happen to you if I don't do this," insinuating like he obviously cares about the team, and he's like, well, they do another thing of like, because it's such a prototype plane, they've got like a control room similar to bloody like a NASA launch. There's a good few of them involved into the test, so it insinuates like if Tom never got to Mach 10, all those people would have been like fired and out the job, yeah. And there's like a lot of like times throughout the film where he's disobeying orders, but he's like pushing forward that, well, if I don't disobey those orders
The mission's
and train
fucked.
them properly, they're just gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
And there's that bit with like John Hamm where he's saying like, yeah, you want to complete the mission and get them home.
Yeah.
We don't want them to die. Like
That was a big
that's
point,
just as
that was.
important as like, for them to complete the mission. So I thought that was good. I thought they're making him more likable as much as they can.
Yeah.
And I'm fully aware as well, which is quite nice, is that in the original, he's younger and like it comes across more cocky, where in this one,
He's matured.
he's more matured and like there's more reasoning behind him being a Maverick. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I noticed on it. I liked a lot.
Yeah. That bit, the bit as well that actually screams like maturity and shit. Was you've mentioned it a bit earlier when he's talking with Penny, Jennifer Connelly's character, and he's saying, you know, the reason I made him drop back 4 years in the academy is because his mom told me she didn't want him flying planes, right? And Jennifer Connelly's character says, well, didn't you tell Rooster that? And he's like, I don't want him to resent his mother. He resents me already. And that line, the way he said that, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's
That's
nice.
good. That is well written. I like that.
Because, like, he says something along the lines of, there's no need for him to resent her as well.
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, it's not mind-blowingly, like, written, but what's good about it is for that exact reason that, like, it makes sense. Like, if that was something, like, unfortunately would go on, like, for anybody's family, you would do that, because what's the point of ruining, not ruining, that's very dramatic, but pissing on that legacy type of thing.
Yeah.
For tarnishing that legacy of, like, his mom's wishes.
Yeah. I really like that. But I want to get into the fucking stunts now. I want to get into those, because, oh my god. I mean, let's face it, Tom at this moment in time, right? Tom set out to be an actor. He's achieved that. Now he's just doing side quests, right? He's learning to fly planes, helicopters, he's jumping bikes, he's hanging on the side of planes, you know, he's hanging on the side of trains and stuff in the new Mission Impossible. Like, he's just absolutely going all out, and the dude's like...
Is it mid-50s, or?
I think he's almost 60, I think he's almost 60. It's like, Tom, you got to slow down because you're going to kill yourself before you complete a film. And guess what? I want to see that film.
Well, that's more like Mission Impossible Fallout. He's done that jump and he fucked his leg, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he does all his own stuff, like.
And that's another thing, talking about, like, making mistakes in movies. That scene in Mission Impossible where he actually breaks his ankle. They keep the scene in where he breaks his ankle. So if you watch closer, you can sort of see him a little bit hobble out of frame because he's broken his ankle. Because I think it's a thing that they say that when you do a stunt and someone gets injured doing that stunt, providing that stunt's got the take has been completed, that's the shot you use.
Yeah. Right?
Unless, of course, like, their legs bent backwards or something, you're like, oh, you definitely look fucked there, mate. You can't use that in the film.
Which reminds me very much of the Lord of the Rings, when with Aragorn, where he took so many attempts at the whole when he boots the helmet,
and then
he breaks his toe doing it, and they were like, yeah, that's the one. He had such the natural scream,
natural reaction,
So they were like, that's the one we're gonna go for, where he legit just breaks his toe.
Viggo Mortensen, yeah.
But where was I? But yeah, with Tom, he's just like, he's completing side missions now, and I don't know if he's actually legitimately flying the plane, but I know he's pulling that G-force. But when he did the test run to show everyone it can be done in 15 seconds less than he wanted them to do it in, I'm watching that. My eyes were so glued. I forgot there was other people in that cinema. I thought it was just me and Tom in that jet then, because it's oh hello, because I was you got to back me up with this. You were there too. It just was incredible.
He just felt bossed. Like, it was good watching it, and like it's intense. Like, and you are glued to the screen because the stuff they're doing is just and it sounds like a bit of a like emotional roller coaster. Like, it sounds very cliche. It is like a roller coaster. It's the way he's like smashing it up and down. He's like.
Yeah,
and
throwing the stick left and right.
And there's bits where like he looks like he's gonna blammo into a bloody like Looney Tunes blammo into a mountain like Coyote Ugly or some shit. But it's just twisting it up, and it looks beautiful, and it looks mental as well. It looks intense.
Yeah,
I like the way they planned everything out as well.
The whole test program before.
Yeah, and like sort of the way I guess the plot of the film was designed to sort of get those stunts in there, you know, like with the with the like the actual mission and stuff, where they had to do like they had to obviously fly between the canyon and stay below a certain level, which obviously made them
feet ground level.
Yeah, which made them do the stunts in a certain way at the beginning, but then they had to do that like where they go at the original one where they sort of go up and turn mid-air, and they go down the other side, sort of upside down.
So they go up the mountain and then they've got to flip on their back. So basically
they corkscrew basically up over the mountain top,
and then over the mountain, and then come back round.
Yeah,
because that's like a legit practice that they have to do.
That's cool. And then obviously they have to do like the bombing run, I guess, where they go straight down, but then pull straight up, and they gotta go over that mountain.
Yeah, because it's like flying into a volcano, basically.
Yeah, and then I thought it was epic when like once they do that mission and they go over the top, and then there's just fucking sand missiles everywhere, and like the scene where the camera kind of pans out. And you've got like a couple of the jets just like flying everywhere.
Fucking off.
Fucking explosions everywhere.
Yeah.
Just like, it's just crazy.
The flares going off as well.
Yeah.
Like watching the missiles explode and the flares.
Yeah, that was just like
incredible.
Yeah, I never thought I'd sort of be like, oh, fucking look at all my shit's going on.
Yeah.
With
it
like
doesn't
fighter
feel
jets.
overwhelming, no.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I feel really cool. Is like, as you say, like, there's a lot going on. But the way it's shot and like the way it's done, you're not like, fucking hell, give me a break here or whatever. Like,
yeah, there's too many flashing things
you can
going
actually
on.
see what's going on like individually without it just looking like a cluster of like
explosions. Like,
yeah, like camera cut. It wasn't like
it's not like looking at a strobe light of just like I don't know what's going on. Like you can actually see like that's doing that. And it's just very fluid and smooth.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean the thing for me as well with that whole when they do the actual mission is there is no music whatsoever. The music kicks in a little bit later, just after they've blown it up. They start to fly over the top, and then I think the music comes in just as the SAM turret starts shooting at them, or like halfway through that segment. But the whole flying through the valley, there is no music whatsoever. All you hear is the sound of the jet engines and like them breathing through their mask apparatus, and that is all you need.
The sound mix is done really good.
Oh, it is amazing. The sound design.
The sound design's really well because it just doesn't matter what it's done. Everything feels very purposeful. Whether it's like that bit you've just discussed, is where Miles telling Rooster's like, he's not having a panic attack. That's so dramatic, but like he's like quite worried. He's like, am I going to be able to do this? And he's saying, talk to me, Dad. And he's breathing heavily, and that's like done well in that sense. And it's just. It's intense, like, and you're glued to it because I like Dykes just said about like the way the film's the planning, in the sense that they've got to practice doing this run for the mission. It's not just like, oh, we've done this stunt, let's just write something to go along. Another stunt. Well, like that's what they might have done, but the way the narrative is done doesn't just feel like they're hitting checkpoints, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
they're the way the narrative's written, and they're them flying through the canyon. It's like, I don't know. It's executed well. Doesn't feel rushed. Doesn't feel like forced. It feels organic, like for the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I quite like the mission plots that they chose for it as well. Like, I didn't think it was like, oh, here's another, like, fucking cliche. Like, oh, we're just going to do this, I don't know, fucking random mission because reason. Like,
it's not a save the world mission.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. It's not a save the world mission. To be honest, I don't know if they highlighted it or why they needed to blow that up.
It was plutonium. Or was plutonium around him? It was like nuclear shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's what we're going to do. I think that's one of the reasons one of the like positive things I liked about it again was like there wasn't no clear villain. There's no twirling guy with mustache.
Yeah, they never mention Russians. They don't actually say who the enemy are.
Yeah, you just guess it's Russians. To be fair, Russians are the villains at the moment. Up Ukraine. But at the same time, like it doesn't discuss what country they are. Even when
there's no flags or
whatever. Even John Hamm, who's quote unquote the antagonist, you can see perfectly why he's acting like he is.
Yeah. He's justified.
He's not. Yeah, he's being justified. He's not being a dick for the sake of being a dick. And Tom Cruise is a Maverick. So, like, I like that. I like that. There's no like a dick just for being the sake of a dick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even like the Hangman character, he's just a rival. He's a cocky rival. He's a bit of a cock at the beginning.
He needs his
Similar to Iceman in the first film, like that him and like Rooster wind each other up, and then Hangman saves them. But even before Hangman saves both Rooster and Maverick, they like come to like he said wishes him good luck. Well, it's not good luck. It's the most give 'em American way of saying good luck. It's give 'em hell.
Yeah.
So like it's
Yeah,
so,
he's the typical like arrogant character anyway. He's like he's a great pilot, like because they show it when they're doing the test runs and stuff, where he's like, we're you know, obviously like Tom Cruise is like, oh, you know, your teammates have died, like why? And he's, you know, like
They're too
slow, couldn't keep up.
couldn't keep up,
you know, because he's like, oh, I'm doing that, and you know, he's got his teammates saying, whoa, we're so down. And he's like, no, we want a time limit because they're trying to fit within a certain time, and he's very much like get good. He's essentially like the get good guy who's like, you know, I'm already there, so like fuck the rest of you, you know, keep up. But you know, but he, like as I said, matures through the film.
Yeah.
He has his little arc because, you know, he's called Hangman because he always leaves his wingman out to dry, and he's the one who goes and saves them both at the end.
Yeah, like I knew that was coming.
Yeah, Dykes did call it. He moved over and he whispered in my ear. It's like, no, man's on his way.
Yeah, like I can see that one coming. But one of the sort of not sort of cliches, but which they avoided, which I was worried about at the beginning, was when obviously at the first one where they're almost getting replaced by like unmanned vehicles, and I thought, oh, don't like fucking Green Lantern the shit, you know, where it's like I was like, oh, Tom Cruise is gonna like fly against the drone program. Because I just got to see it again. I haven't seen the trailers for this.
Drones don't have instincts.
Yeah.
Drones don't know what to do in the moment. You could see that happening, couldn't you?
Yeah, because obviously, like Maverick is like a guy who doesn't really follow orders, and like Ed Harris even mentions in the film, don't he? He's like, you know, our drones. You know, we won't have we'll have drones that don't need men who you know make mistakes and don't sleep and don't follow orders and stuff. And I thought, oh. Because obviously it's early on in the film, and I sat there going, do not Green Lantern it. Do not just, I was like, oh, fuck, Tom Cruise is just going to be like, I'll fly against the drones. And then he's going to, like, you know, outmaneuver the drones because he's a better pilot than the machines. And he's going to be like, oh, yeah, see, we don't need drones. But I'm really glad they didn't go in that direction at all.
And it would not surprise me, as you say. I'm glad they never. But it would not surprise me.
It feels like a Hollywood move at the moment.
Like if that had happened and they'd sort of done the old, you know, replacing human with machines thing.
Yeah.
Like had they gone down that route, I would have gone, oh yeah, if I could see that coming a mile off, and it wouldn't have surprised me that they would have put it in the film. But I'm really glad that they stayed away from that, because I think it's done so often in the past couple of years as well that
it's a bit sick of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny you say it though, because it's mentioned in like the first 5 minutes, and I don't recall drones being ever mentioned again in the rest of the film.
Yeah, yeah, it was like
it's kind of like, well, bring it up because people are probably talking about what's the point in Top Gun because, you know, drones are the future, and at the beginning of the film they were like, yeah, drones are going to be the future, but by the way, before that happens, we need you to go to Top Gun and train them for this mission, and then drones are never mentioned again. So I don't know if they just threw that in there for the sake of just mentioning drones and their relevance.
The only real negative I can think of, but like we've discussed, it's like a big positive of the film, is like I said, going out with him was walking, is for you to like following like your father's footsteps in a job, it could be a more like easy and unattainable job. But even to be like not just in the Air Force,
but in Top Gun.
But he's in Top Gun, so in the best of the best, more time Rooster is. That's mad in itself. Like,
yeah, like
it's not just like football. It's not like he's playing like football in his local town.
And now we're suddenly playing for Manchester or whoever's top.
Whoever's top or whatever. That's not it. It's even like bigger than that type of thing.
Yeah. He's like he's earned, as they say, he's earned his stripes. You know, he's earned his right to be there. He's put in the hours. He's put in practice.
So that's a bit far fetched to a degree.
Yeah, we were talking about it like when we left the cinema. We like in regards to like the wrestling and Rey Mysterio and his son, like his son I think is older than when I first seen Rey Mysterio wrestle, and he's nowhere near. And obviously he's good, but he's nowhere near his dad was at that age. Like it doesn't really translate Like, just because your father's amazing at something. Like, my dad's great at DIY. I can't use fucking power tools for shit. So, like you know, it clearly doesn't run in shit.
Yeah, funny enough, so my dad, that's my point, is that, like, it's... Obviously, it's fictional, but you'd think to yourself, what are the chances? And you could argue, like, his dad got blammoed, his dad died, so he's very motivated for it to do it. Anyone's doing his dad's on or something like that. So you could say, like, that's what kept pushing it.
It's got connections.
So
that always helps.
And he's got connections, I suppose, that, like... But also, he doesn't have connections because that's the driving force of the film, is that Uncle Pete didn't want him to be in the... But, yeah, a lot of it clings on and hinges on you, whether you think that would happen. But because it's done so well, it's just a little niggly thing. Yeah, there's not, like... Honestly, I would definitely recommend it because I can't think of a lot of negatives. Even, like a lot of time, Tom Cruise gets, like, grilled for, like, having, like, unbelievably good-looking women in his, like, films, and, like, it feels quite forced between them or whatever. But I didn't feel like the Jennifer... He's, like, Penny Benjamin, like, romance with Jennifer Connelly. I thought that was quite fun, like... It didn't seem like...
Well, it's probably the first romance he's probably had in a film where they're almost of similar age.
And that's another good thing about it, yeah. She's not a damsel in distress. She's not boring. She's got her own bar. She owns the bar. That's quite fun. The bit where you first meet her with her ringing the bell and, like, grilling him, and that's quite cool. It seems quite cliche, but it's done well in the sense that, like, the students grill him and then mugging him off for calling an old man or thanks for drinks pops or whatever. So.
And then the next morning they realise he's their instructor and he is Maverick.
I think what I'd suggest, which probably my favourite thing going about it before, like, we kind of wrap up to a degree, is it's good escapism. It's not a film where it's got a load of social commentary and, like, despite us saying it may be or may or not be alluded to Russians being the bad guys, it's a good, like, you sit down, it's a summer blockbuster, you feel good. Yeah, there's emotional bits in it, but you're not going to come out crying and thinking about, like, whatever. Well, it ends on a high, unless for some reason it's a very niche point, but your dad was in the Air Force and he got blammoed by an injector seat.
On a canopy, not an injector seat.
On a canopy, but yeah, apart from that, I can't see, like, you being mega upset watching it. You would be uplifted. Specific. Yeah, exactly, very specific points. But no, it's gold. Like, definitely recommend it.
I think it's a brilliant film. I don't think it's the greatest film I've ever seen, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I think it's a great cinema experience. At the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for.
I think it's just a great laugh. Just go see it. Like, you just have a good time. I say it's not in Oscar bait season, but it's not going to win, like, an Oscar for, like,
stunt CGI.
It might win an Oscar for, like, stunts, like a stunt performance. Won't win an Oscar for writing, but that doesn't mean, like, it's bad writing. But it's absolutely great. Like, it's intense and it's, like, shot beautifully. It's like
cinematography's great.
Cinematography's good in it. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a proper blockbuster, fun film.
Yeah, and
that's what you want. Like, it's a good laugh.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. To be fair, I didn't have any expectations going into it. As someone who, I mean, I've had chances to watch Top Gun. Like, I've had it on DVD in the house. You know, just one of them random DVDs. And I'm like, oh, Top Gun. I haven't really seen that. But I don't know. It was never a film for me that I was just like, oh, I'm going to pick up and watch that. But I actually kind of want to go and watch the first one now after watching the second one.
Right, I want to read.
So I just generally enjoyed the film. As I said, like, time didn't feel like it dragged like it does in some films. Like, it was just as I said, it wasn't the greatest film I've ever seen.
No,
but it was
solid.
It was a solid film.
Yeah.
I just enjoyed, you know, for the entire duration from start to finish. I was like, this is a great film. But it just feels, as I said, like, the pacing is good, and it's just good, just from beginning to end.
Actually, just a thought across my head. Actually, when you said there's not many things that you call negative for it, the things that it gets me every time is the whole American cheering for everything. You know, it's like, woo, yeah, oh, we're the best. And you're like, all you've done is just land the plane on an aircraft carrier. Like, chill the fuck out. Like, if this isn't like Britain or something, we'd be like, oh, well done, lads. You know, and we'd just look at each other and maybe give each other a thumbs up, or we'd just be maybe one slight tap on the back or something. You know, it's very like chill. But America overhype those things a lot of the time. That's where the cringe sets in. For
me. You mean like when they land the plane and like the whole aircraft carrier are all up in arms?
Every single person that was like on that aircraft carrier is all like jumping and singing, like dancing around a maypole or something.
Yeah,
it's
like you would be surprised if they just suddenly started hoisting Tom Cruise and Rooster up and just start crowd surfing him. Crowd surfing.
And then it's like a still frame, like the camera still frames with the half in the air.
Yeah.
And then that cheesy like 80s music comes on, like. It's just like. Oh,
but that's actually like that's one of the things that coined the first one. Right?
Yeah, I know.
It's for that exact reason.
That's the piss take I'm taking.
Yeah. Around as per, we do our like moments of the week. My moment of the week this week, my gaming one is playing Horizon Forbidden West, and that's just I've literally only put probably 2 hours in it, 2-3 hours, and the world. I played the first game, but like the world in it is so like vibrant and mad and like charming and like feels quite brutal, and the combat is so fun, and like Aloy is quite like a funny endearing character, but also she's quite badass as well. So I think she's especially now like Nathan Drake's out of like the spotlight now. She's the PlayStation mascot, especially like you could argue it's like Spider-Man. Or like it's rather Aloy or Kratos, because Kratos has got an absolute, God of War Ragnarok's coming out, and God of War 2018 is absolutely like it's a masterpiece of a game. But Aloy is smashing it, especially with Horizon Forbidden West. Like, but we'll probably end up doing it, and like, well, we will do it every episode on Horizon. But like, my favourite film or TV one is definitely Obi-Wan Kenobi. Episode 3 came out this week, because last week they dropped 2 episodes. And Obi-Wan Kenobi there has a lot of fanfare in it, and there's like some little annoying bits from out the 3 hours. But in episode 3, something big happens, and it's something we've been waiting for, like a lot of Star Wars fans have been waiting for like years.
Darth Vader.
And spoilers, Darth Vader. And that's done.
I was just guessing, I ain't seen it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's done so well. And there's a lot of emotion behind it, and it feels like Anakin and Darth Vader. And Ewan McGregor, leading up to it, he's a lot more gravitas in the TV show with Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan. He's more of a character. He's not like two-dimensional. He's got PTSD. There's a bit where he's emotional when he's seeing like younger characters, and he's making connections there and stuff. And it's more of a character study in the Star Wars universe. But yeah, it's badass. What was your guys' moment of the week?
You go first, Dick.
The best thing I've seen recently is Moonknight. Moonknight has been pretty solid out of the Marvel series that have been out. Moonknight's probably been my favourite one. Like, there hasn't really been an episode where it just feels like filler content.
Yeah.
Or boring. They always seem to be setting up. So, and the way they do the psychological twists between the characters.
Yeah.
They've obviously got the confirmed 2 and the they were hinting at the third personality and whatnot. It was just like it even had me second guessing at one point, like, wait, which one is the real one, and what the fuck's going on. But that was great.
Because I'm like 4 episodes into that.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. Like, it's really good. Oscar Isaac smashing her, also as Ethan Hawke, and like the lady who plays like Oscar Isaac's get wife in it. And there's a lot going on. and the action's done well as well. But it seems to take like mental health quite seriously in it as well, which is good.
Yeah.
And it's fast paced. The Egyptian mythology is fun in it as well.
Yeah, it is very good.
It seems to give you in layman's terms, but like without patronising or whatever.
Yeah, no, I found it is really interesting, and I like the contrast in obviously both the characters and the character suits. So
Yeah.
when they change to Moonknight, like I love it suits their personalities well. I find, and to have the contrast is just really cool.
The suit which like Steve has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the more like mummy Egyptian warrior suit.
The
Mark has. Yeah, Mark has. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It is very, it's done really well.
Doesn't feel oversaturated. It's a part of like the MCU which hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
The Egyptian mythology and
like a character that has sort of like split personalities, I guess.
Well, you could argue Egyptian kind of has been done with X-Men Apocalypse. With Oscar Isaac's other role.
Yeah,
I forgot he's in that.
Playing Apocalypse, I suppose. But yeah, whether like you've watched Doctor Strange or not, however you want to feel that, but like whether the X-Men's technically in the MCU or not, I don't know. But
well, yeah,
it's Apocalypse. The less said about the Apocalypse. Oh no, but X-Men Apocalypse worth watch is pretty mad. Like, it's one of Oscar Isaac's less favourable roles, should we put it like. And I think Oscar Isaac's incredible.
He's great.
What about you, Kieran? What's been your moment of the week?
I mean, my moment of the week, I mean, it's not necessarily this week, but a week ago, finally fucking got my hands onto a PlayStation 5. So that's a big old moment for me, because I'm finally cracking down on these PlayStation 5 releases. Because I'm just like you, I've been wanting to play Horizon Forbidden West for ages. I loved Zero Dawn. I think it's a brilliant game. It's in like my top 10, 100%. And with Forbidden West coming out, I was really looking forward to it. But I was so adamant I wasn't going to play it on PlayStation 4. Because I was like, I'm waiting for the 5 so I get the full benefit. And playing with the PlayStation 5 now, the big game changer for me is the controller. It is an absolute game changer, because the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers are just incredible. The way they changed the game. I mean, there's a bit where I was just running through a waterfall, right, and my controller did this little sort of vibration sort of thing. I was like, what the hell was that? And then I walked backwards into the waterfall, and I was just under a little bit of a stream of waterfall, and there was just this little tickling in the vibration of the controller, and it's like I felt like I was underneath a waterfall. And it's those little sort of intricacies that throughout the game,
the little things just make it more immersive.
Just make it so much more immersive, and you don't get that watching a walkthrough or something on YouTube, because you don't have that controller in your
putting
hands.
the bow back, because you use bows a lot.
Putting the bow back,
the strings,
feeling strings. I mean, jamming in and opening the doors, or using the overrides and stuff, and you're feeling the sort of the adaptive triggers coming in, or the haptic feedbacks. Like, it completely changed gaming in a sense for me. I'm all for it. I'm loving it. I mean, it drains the controller really quickly, especially if you leave it on like strong settings. But it doesn't bother me all that much, because I'd rather have to keep plugging the controller in to charge it.
Than, a long cable, you still play like it.
Than not experience the full effect. And I'm glad I waited to play it on PlayStation 5, because I mean, I've completed the main story now. I've got to do all like the side missions and stuff and get more trophies. But I think it is a solid game. I think it's a beautiful game. The way the art direction has gone. I mean, just the cutscenes. I'll get into this more when we do like the actual episode on Horizon. But the lip syncing and the cutscenes themselves are incredible. When you get like the expansion options for dialogue. So you got like, if you click on like the yellow one, it tends to just like move on. But then there's like different options, so you can expand the conversation.
You always feel like you want to expand the conversation.
Yeah.
You never just want to shut it down.
No.
Like, unless for some reason in IRL you feel like you're in a real rush and you've got to go shopping in a bit or whatever you got. Unless you physically press the button, you always want to explore the other options.
I mean, especially when you've spent how much on the game, you might as well get everything out of it you possibly can. But I found myself actively wanting more cutscenes, because they are brilliant. And then like I I remember the Las Vegas mission when I went to Las Vegas and everything happened. I actually can't say too much because neither of you two have played it and you haven't even got that far yet. But when you get the lights and everything and the swimming under the water and it's an incredible game and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, so that's my moment of the week past other week.
I'm really glad you've you said that it's just a brilliant game because I loved the first one. I mean, talk about trophies, like fun fact. My first platinum on my PlayStation account was Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. Some graphs, that is.
Yeah, it was, but it was really fun to do. Like, just all the trophies on the first one. To be fair, I mean, I never played the DLC for it. I mean, I had bought the DLC when it was on sale, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna play it, and then like
time's gone by.
Just so many other stuff come out.
Yeah,
and I probably will go back and play it at some point.
So I think I want to play Zero Dawn again because a lot of people have said Zero Dawn's a better story. And I can't remember the whole story of Zero Dawn, but I remember like the fight for Meridian and everything. I remember that was quite a real interesting plot point. There's no such in Zero Dawn you're fighting against the machines and you're trying to find out who you are, Aloy, like where you came from, who's your birth mother, who's Gaia and everything, right? But in this one, it's more like you know all those things, but now you're trying to
implement them.
Implement them into the ecosystem to stop the blight, which is like the red, like disease and stuff that's destroying all of the ecosystem, and it's trying to rebalance the earth in a way. So you're trying to save the world, but then there's loads of other things thrown at you. So a lot of people say Zero Dawn's got a better story, but that's not to say Forbidden West is a bad story. It's just it's opinion, and I need to play Zero Dawn again to really compare the two. But I think it's a solid story. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, no, that's my moment of the week there. And I suppose it's time to wrap up that episode, I guess.
But thanks for listening, as always, and do a good wee share on the socials.
Yeah, send them across your social. I mean, we've got an Instagram account thrown up now. We're also uploading onto YouTube, so if anyone wants to get more of a visual representation, I mean, we're not video recording; they're just audios on YouTube. So if you've got a YouTube Premium or whatever like that, you can just watch us there. Just making it a bit more accessible for people. But I'd like to thank Dykes for coming on.
Thanks to our special guest, Dix.
So thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's my first podcast, and I normally hate the sound of my own voice. So
so you won't be watching this back?
Probably not. Well, I don't know. I might do, but I was just really nervous at the beginning, before we started, because I was like, oh, I don't know what it is, but when you know, I've always been the same as a child. When you get recorded, I used to hear be recorded.
Yeah.
If you know you're on camera or somebody's recording, I'm everything's just weird.
Yeah.
But it's just been super chill.
It's just conversation. These are conversations we have normally, and just there's a mic in the room. That's basically all the difference is, really. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening in, and I guess we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next episode. Have a good time.
See ya.